What is needed to make a great wine? You need a good varietal. This we add over there and here in Napa. Then you need a totally dedicated team. And then you also need climatology. And here, Mother Nature is generous. We think we are on the right side of Napa because we have 2 big lakes. We have a lot of wide forest, which is good because it's biodiversity.
Sit back and grab a glass. It's Wine Talks with Paul K.
Hey, welcome to Wine Talks with Paul K. And we are at an away game today up in the Napa Valley, about to have a conversation with Florence Cathiard, the co-founder and propriétaire of the Cathiard Vineyards. Hey, have a listen to a show coming up, I just released actually with Zach Arman of Storka Wines. He's bringing wines from Armenia to America. It's an incredible, fascinating story. Have a listen to that. And please subscribe. If you have something nice to say, give us a review. If you don't say anything at all, but not while we're here. We are here to have a conversation with Florence. It's so nice to be with you today. Welcome to the show.
Merci.
Merci. Huh?
It's nice to speak about my passion.
It's my goal with my French to do an entire podcast en français.
I hope it would be very more restful for me, but I try with my broken English to answer your question.
I'm sure we're going to do great. And when I do get comfortable to do that show, I'm coming to Bordeaux, and we're going to do it together at Smith-O-Lafitte.
Great. And there I shall speak French.
Okay, and we'll speak French there. But today we're in the Napa Valley, so we're going to speak. There's so much to talk about your history and what you've done in your career. But I do want to kind of go back a little bit just to understand the passion of wine in your family. Was there wine in your family when you grew up? You were in the South.
Yes, my grandfather had a small vineyard in his garden because he had a big garden in Béziers, which is the south of the south,
Yes.
But it was really
Béziers.
really no good.
In Béziers.
Yes. And it's where you have Languedoc, Roussillon, but it's a big city. He had a big garden and he had the crazy idea of making some wine, but frankly, it was not.
Do you remember it not being that good?
Oh, yes. I was maybe 15 and I tasted this. I say, no. But then after, when we were in the skiing, I had to make the downhill races, and I was a slalom girl, but at the time we were obliged to race with 3 disciplines, and with 2 other girls which were my size, not very muscular, we were frightened and we did not sleep on the eve of the downhill race. And they had the idea of giving us a little glass of red Cabernet, left bank Bordeaux, because, and it was French paradox beginning, the most digestive of varietals. And we had never drank alcohol, so we test this, and after we slept.
Which varietal was the digestive?
Cabernet.
But in the South?
No, because then we were in the French ski team. No, in the South, it was very poor. It was
yes.
They had the varietal from the South. It could have been well, but my grandfather, he was inspector of academy. He was not at all a winemaker.
Yeah.
He was no good. But after, when I was racing for the French national ski team, that we were in the good hotel, because Jean-Claude Killy and Maël Guachel, who are older than I am, were winning all the gold medals. And
Jean-Claude Killy.
Yes, he had this idea.
He was very famous.
Yes, he had this.
Very famous.
Yes.
Are you still friends?
Yes, but he's very austere, He did not want to be in the Olympic Committee.
No, right.
Now he likes his bees and his cats. He has hives and cats.
So, it's interesting. There's a poster, a petite affiche de Béziers, 1932, comme ça. It says, and it was from the government of Béziers. I'm going to send you a copy. It says, it's okay to drink alcohol or wine. It's better than water.
You don't rest.
Yeah, and if it's okay to serve alcohol to wine to children, as long as you put a little water in it.
Wow. And that's true. My grandfather, he would oblige us to drink. And he says, I never drink my wine pure. Look, I had water, and he had one drop.
What?
In a full glass.
Well, if you're going to add water,
and it was not crystal; it was a glass like this one, not the tasting like we do now. That was I think but
so you became a professional skier, no?
Not professional at the time. The French ski team national was not professional. We did not win any money, but we had the best restaurant, the best hotel, and the best pair of skis, of course, maybe 7, 8, 10 pair of skis given to us by the manufacturer, by Rossignol or Dynastar.
And this is, but you're from the South.
Yes, but
is there skiing in the South?
At the time, I am speaking more than half a century ago, and we had snow. It was not climate general warming of the planet. I was from Serre Chevalier, Pralou, that's the south resort of skiing. And they still have snow, but not everywhere.
Is there snow in Montpellier?
In Serre Chevalier.
Serre Chevalier.
That is a nice resort from the south.
How about the Pyrenees, no?
The Pyrenees, no, it was not from the Pyrenees, but we skied there because we skied, it was the big white circus, as we called it.
Wow.
We began by France and then Europe, and not the States because they had not the money to send us to the States. It was either Eastern countries or Scandinavia. And that was 11 months a year because during summer we were on the glaciers in Chamonix.
And how did you meet Monsieur Daniel Cathiard?
Because he was
skiing, no?
He was a downhill racer in the men French ski team, and he was the only students like myself. We were the two only students, so we had a lot of problems because it was not easy. The other they stopped studying because no ski school at the time. But my parents were professors at university, and so that was, and then teacher, because my father was an adept of Taureau and of nature, the book about Walden, this kind of thing. And so he took my mother, who was at university in Aix-en-Provence, and they went in a small town near the mountain where he liked to walk, to be near nature. And so I trained with him, and I began to run slaloms in
slalom. Wow.
Yeah, that was my specialty. But I was not as good as Michaela Schifrin is now.
No. But a slalom skier and an alpine skier get together.
Yes.
Because there's a story on the internet about, he said he saw one look at you and it was love at first sight, and that was going to way it would be.
I thought he was very good. He was better than me because he was in the A team. And he could have raced the Olympics. And I was not. I was in the B team, the reverse team, and so nobody broke her leg, and I could not start. So.
Well, but 50, how many years later? 50?
Now it's maybe, I don't
When
count.
you haven't only been married, 50-something years, 50?
Yes, we married very young, but it's a little more than 50 that we have been married.
That's amazing by itself, right? We only have 38 years, honey, 38 years. But you've worked together all this time.
Yes, because we had 3 lives. So I think that's why our couple is strong and solid. Because we had the skiing life, the sport life. Then we had the business life because we did not inherit Smith Lafitte or Cathiard Vineyards here. And then now it's the wine life.
So the first business life, because this is very interesting for me. My father came from Cairo. He's an immigrant. He spoke spoke French, and he's an entrepreneur. He did things the way he wanted to do it, and he had a dream, a vision of what he was going to do when he did it. And I sensed this between you and your husband, that, once you got out of there was a chain of supermarkets or convenience
it was
stores?
a very small supermarket, but his father died suddenly, and Daniel had to drop the team 6 months before the Olympics.
Wow.
And
Was that hard?
He had to take over the family business because it was a small family business, but he had his mother, he had his sister, and that's all. And the bankers. And the bankers, when they saw the skiers, they took as we say in France, they give you an umbrella when it's sunny and not when it's raining,
Wow, yeah, right, of course.
And that's what they did. They were afraid of a skier. And I wait till the Olympics took place to see whether I have a chance of racing them.
Running, yeah.
No. And then I join him, and we start working like crazy because it was small, but it was a time when the small supermarkets were beginning to grow, and we borrowed a lot of money, but we were good. And it was the end of what was called the glorious years for France.
I thought that was the Renaissance.
Yes, kind of. It must have been. It was in the last years of 70, 80. And then...
That's interesting. You think about the French history, and you think about the Renaissance after the Resistance, after the war, and the Belle Époque, and this was the Grand era. And you're saying the 70s and 80s were...
Yes, were good for France.
Good for France.
And I remember in the 80s, we decided, because it was going well with the supermarket, but our passion was with the sport. And we decided to open big shops for sporting goods. And we even opened 4 in California. That
Really?
was the first time we put...
That's amazing.
In California.
So let's back it up a minute. We had supermarkets. You sold that?
No. We kept them.
We kept them. And then you decided to open retail sporting goods.
Exactly.
And because of your skiing, because your name was known from skiing?
Also.
Yes.
And also because we love every kind of sport. It's still
yes,
like this.
Still part of it.
With us. And we opened 55 big shops in France, Belgium, and 4 in California.
That's amazing.
Especially in LA. We were in...
and what was the name of that?
Century Go Sport. And it was like this with Decathlon. Decathlon?
Yeah.
And we were like this because Decathlon was more on parking lots out of the cities. We were in the heart of the cities. We were working with big brands, big name of sport, and Decathlon was making his own brands. But it was like this because it was different. But in California, they were superb, the supermarkets, the sporting supermarket, not supermarkets, sporting shops, but large. It was maybe, 3,000 square feet.
That's a good size. Does it still exist?
30,000 square feet.
30,
Excuse me.
30,000.
I am thinking meters.
That's a very big place.
It was big.
Everything.
Yes,
not just skiing, but
the golf,
racket sports.
The biking, tennis, all the sports.
And you were all over you traveled a lot and you worked with your husband for all these years. Who ran the show? Who really was the chef?
Daniel was the boss at this time. And
I don't believe that for a second.
I was number 2. And,
I don't believe that for 1 second.
Now it's a reverse.
Yes,
now.
Of course.
He's not number 2. He's above me.
Oh, okay, right.
Not retired, but cool.
Yes.
And I am not.
We worked together 25 years.
Yeah.
Yes, so she was the boss.
No, I was not. I like to have him because he has always been in strategy, and I have always been tactical.
So when did the love of wine to where you would bite off buying a Bordeaux house become a reality for you? When did you think this was a good idea?
For the wine, you mean?
Ce Smith Olivier.
Oh, yeah. Because Daniel, I tried to make short a long story. At the time, Daniel needs money more money than the banks were lending. And as business was doing well, but he wanted to expand, he went public. But the analysts, it was not the time we are living now. They say, oh, Mr. Daniel Cathiard, you have your wife working tightly with you. You have your mother still working with you, and you have your sister. That's 3 ladies around you. That's no good to go public. You cannot do this. And then it was a problem. And I say, okay, I launched my own advertising agency, and I won the budget for Ski Rossignol, and Rossignol was very big at the time. And I went like this, and I won over budget, you say?
Wow.
Yes, over accounts. And then I had a problem because we were failing in Japan for Rossignol. It was okay in the States.
Rossignol.
Yes, Rossignol skis.
Yeah, the skis.
We were no good in Japan. And then I had to be near a big company. I chose McCann Erickson because they had subsidiaries everywhere. And they took me, and I began a career with them, and I was vice president with 6 subsidiaries.
Wow.
And but we did not see each other anymore. We crossed each other in airport. I was following my big American boss, and he was with his little plane going to open a new sporting goods shop in the States, for instance,
Wow.
And so we were a little unhappy together. And then he decided to sell all his business because it was a very good company, but he was a little small for the big challenges. And he sold this to Casino, who was a well-known brand in France, well-known brand in France. And they had made very well with supermarket, but not at all with the sport shops, because they did not know. They just were flat, and then they went down. But it took 20 years.
Wow, that's interesting.
But
plight.
But it was.
But you were with corporate French companies, as we worked in corporate America. We understand that, but you became quite the entrepreneur, in doing this, and then so Smith Lafitte became available. How did you learn about this?
No, we wanted to have a small business because we had 9,000 people.
Well, you blew that, didn't you?
And Daniel says, small business, no unions, just you and me and near nature, because we remembered the snow, purity of the snow.
Right.
And we had always been organic in our way of dealing with our body. And we liked red wine, left bank, Bordeaux, Cabernet. So we came to Bordeaux, we did not know anything. And we found a banker, we found in Bordeaux, and because he was Mr. Wine for the bank. And he showed us Smith Lafitte. And we think, well, it was derelict, totally derelict, but like a meadow of vines surrounded by wood, very near from the city of Bordeaux. And we found it. It was the place for us.
What year?
That was this November 1990.
Wow.
35 years from now, 35 years. So
and
it's the longest life, the wine life.
It was not in good shape.
Not at all, not at all.
I wonder why.
A great terroir poorly managed, because it was a wine merchant, a very big wine merchant, but he was going chapter 11, and he was making a lot of wine, cheap wine, on a great terroir. And even us, even if we were not winemaker, we could understand this. And
you couldn't understand why, and it was classified then? No,
yes,
right?
It was classified.
I think 1985, the classification?
Yes, but it was not the Medoc classification with us, because we are in the Graves, and it came later. But we were classified.
1955, no?
It was 1963.
60, okay.
Yeah. It came later, but we were classified already because it was 1990 when we came, December when we bought, and we came in 91, and then we worked very, very hard because we had a frost the first year, like the whole Bordeaux, second year raining all the time, 1993, a poor crop. I told my husband we are broke. And then 94 slightly better, 95 great red, great white. It was time. We were strangled.
Did you find this business of wine completely different and more difficult than markets and sporting goods, or you loved it regardless?
We loved it regardless,
Yes.
and it was totally different because,
Totally different.
what is needed to make a great wine? You need a good varietal. This we had over there and here in Napa. Then you need a totally dedicated team. You had a sample with Claude, but Fabien or Justine, they are great winemaker, excellent. And then you also need climatology, and this cannot do anything. You go with what Mother Nature gives to you, and then you need to express the genius of the terroir, and that's what we love.
That's a very interesting point, and we have so much to talk about, and we don't have that much time because I love the history of what you've done, and now we're here in Napa with Cathiard. And one of the comments I made to Claude during this tasting was, you sense pedigree here. The character of the wine shows history, even though it's young compared to your French winery, but the wines themselves speak of your history.
I don't know the history, but you can feel the terroir because, we had the dream of going to Napa, but the only things which were for sale were a plot of very fertile terroir in the middle of the sedimentary in the flat in Napa. And we had this thought that the best I have now, that it would be better to have also a small block of vine on the bench and another one maybe higher. And we said, no, we are too old to do this. And then out of the blue, a guy who knew us, an Irish guy, Robert Nicholson, he called us and he said, well, the Cathiard, because we had dropped the idea, it was a faraway memory, Napa. And he said, there is an individual, it is not still officially for sale, and you have sedimentary, and then you have the bench, the famous Rutherford dust, and the Mayacamas. So it had everything we could dream in terms of a great blend, and also a beautiful cab. So we came, we had a coup de coeur, and we bought too fast, too high, just before COVID came.
I'm désolé.
We were spared by the wildfires. We could come during COVID because we were declared national interest exception because we were investing a lot.
And Monsieur Newsom, he exempted wineries because he owns a winery.
Yes, I know. 3 wineries.
Very political.
Yeah.
But this is interesting. As an American and being in this business, I look at French, Italian, other parts of the world as a little jealous because you have appellation contrôlée, you have restrictions in Bordeaux, the
no
5
irrigation,
grapes.
of course.
Right? But America, and maybe this is your attraction, it's an open book. You can come to America, plant what you want, and try what you want.
Yes, it's
without rules.
Easier with a vineyard, but for the permits, Napa is awful.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
More red tape than in France. We were really surprised. And everything is so expensive here.
Ah, well, bien sûr.
It's impressive.
So was that a surprise when you started this process?
Big surprise. Yeah. Because we, for instance, we have just opened a beautiful integrated cooperage, and it took 4 years a little more than 4 years.
4 years
to get the 2 permits. When we had the first permit, we thought it was one, champagne. And then we just had later, no, we need another permit. Now you have the use permit, you need the building permit. You
need a permit to make barrels in California?
Of course, and a lot more expensive than in France.
And so what's the reason to, I mean, let's explain to los editeurs, to have your own cooper, to make your own barrels on property it's kind of rare in California, no?
It's unique. Yes. Nobody does this in California. Yes. It's an artisan who is also an artist.
Yes.
Our friend Alban that you talk with, and we really need this because we think mastering our toasting is very important for us.
You want to cover all parts of the quality of the wine, and
exactly.
The reason I brought up the comment about the pedigree you taste in these wines, there is a whole Napa Valley style that's evolved.
Yeah,
yes.
And I think we are in the new trend.
Well, I hope so.
Before it was wines on steroid, very strong, bodybuilded wines, a little provocative, muscular. But now we like the density, we like the energy, we like the purity. We are certified also here after 4 years, and in organic. But we like very long and elegant finish with tannins which have some grip, which have some strength, but which are not ending on a wall of oak. We want to be supple and long and pure.
And why organic?
And harmony.
Why not farm organically and not worry about the certification, which we know costs money and continues to be money future spent in the future? You were farming organically, and it seems you also have some biodynamic tendencies.
That is in Bordeaux. But here I try to be biodynamic. It's a nightmare because I am with my appellation, my app, on my smartphone. What is this plant? What is this one? Latin name, I don't know. Take care to poison ivy. The sagebrush are so strong in the nose, much stronger than in France. The laurel is not the same. It will take time.
It's too much. Do you want to do that?
Organic, it's easy because we hate herbicides, we hate pesticides. And here, Mother Nature is generous. We think we are on the right side of Napa because we have 2 big lakes, you saw them. We have a lot of wide forest, which is good because it's biodiversity. That's easy, but biodynamic, no. In Bordeaux, we master. We have the meadows where we plant our own plants.
I think that's really important, what you just said, because the industry, as you know, is got troubles. Less drinkers, Gen X, or what letter are we on? Gen Z. Millennials are drinking sparkling flavored.
You are right, but it was never young people who, for us, the young people began at 35, not before.
Yes, right.
Because we are great wines. We are quite expensive, and we need focused attention. We need people to take the time to share the crystal glass, to smell the flavor. It's not just give me my tequila and it's not this.
No, but that's interesting because the industry is still suffering from a lot of things. And you are producing a brand that you're holding your line, you're telling your story, you're attracting a generation of drinkers. And this is my opinion and my romantic opinion of wine, that every generation eventually comes to this glass of wine.
We think so because it's welcome to civilization.
Yes. Okay, that's not. Can I use that? That's a very good line. Welcome to civilization. I like that.
That's what I feel.
And I think we need more of this. And just experiencing what we did today, the beautiful property for the listeners, and the tour on your electric Range Rover, and seeing the biodiversity of the vineyards.
Yes.
I think it's an extraordinarily important part of what we need to do in our industry is those experiences. That when I go home and drink a bottle of Ora or the Founding Brothers, I remember this.
Yeah.
It's the experience I had. If I go to Smith Lafitte and Pessac Léon and I visit the Michelin star restaurant, I'm going to remember that the rest of my life. And every time I open a bottle of Smith Lafitte, I'm going to think of that.
Good.
And that can't be replaced by an internet sale.
No, you're right.
Right?
Maybe we are the last ones of the Mohican, you know.
Yes, it could be a bit.
Maybe.
Well, you know the Mohicans. That'll last.
Everybody speaks about artificial intelligence now, and they have deficit of attention because they are with real, with TikTok. But someday they want to have social link. They have to share something which is my great wines. My Cathiard Vineyard on my Smith Lafitte, they are liquid geography and liquid history. That's what I am a little snobbish, maybe.
No, I don't think so.
I think so because, and I think the real luxury today is beauty with other people, sharing with other people in the middle of Mother Nature. That's what we think.
I think that's why wine will always be the same value to our soul after thousands and thousands of years, because it does represent a human relationship with the earth.
Yes.
There's no other product like this. And
You're right.
Right? There's no other product. And you don't sit around with a beer and say,
No.
wow, I wonder what you don't do that, or Jack Daniels or bourbon or scotch. But when you have that glass of wine, and this is what I found really interesting, even though it's intimidating. You said, I'm a snob, you're not a snob. But even though that the perception to most of the public is wine is a snob,
Yes.
you know that at the end of the night, you're sitting with your friend and you're having that glass of wine and the conversation happens
Yes.
because of that glass of wine.
Yes, of course.
Right?
Yes.
And so tell me about Smith Lafitte, because we were just at Chateau Bailly. Your neighbor.
And you did not come to visit me?
I did not know.
I am the other side of the forest.
Je suis
My
désolé.
forest.
But I will tell you a funny story because we're coming. One of my interns, stagiaire at the Wine Club, she got a job with Veronique
Yes.
this summer.
Yes.
En juin, juillet. So we're coming to visit her. Then we're going to come visit you as well.
Of course.
So, but if it's run down, I'm going to go back a little bit. You bought the chateau, it's run down, and now it's a thriving, hospitality place. There's 2 or 3 restaurants, right?
That's not mine. That's my son-in-law and daughter.
Oh, will you give them credit?
They bought back the walls. We begin because we begin for the other daughter, the one which makes the cream,
Yes, yeah.
And we have 2 daughters, and they are very special. We have the smallest turnover of the family. The biggest one is by far Bordelaise, the range of beautiful skincare.
Wait.
And it happens that she was a nose, She can tell which perfume your wife has put in her. Yes. And we thought it would be excellent for our wine. But in fact, she met this boy very young, and they were in the big Ivy League of France, and he was beginning to be a trainee for L'Oréal, and she was a trainee in where they are making juice for the big perfumes. And they came a Sunday, and we were the only chateau open a Sunday in 1993, the only chateau. They are all closed. And we had the visit of a scientist, and he visited during harvest, and he said, "Oh, you are throwing away the best of your crop." And we were already maniac, obsessed by cleanliness, quality. And he was referring to the heap of grape seed white. Why the white? Because they don't macerate. They have their properties intact. Whereas the red seeds, they macerate. And he was working on artificial skin and this kind of thing with the polyphenol inside the seeds. And 6 months later, my daughter was having worldwide patents with
Wow.
a scientist.
Très intéressant.
And now they make research with her half American husband, the same guy.
So they're doing that, and, and you have another daughter.
And we built a spa for them to help them.
To help with that.
A small spa. Now it's big. It's very big now.
Yeah.
A small spa, but nobody understood what a spa was. They thought it was Société Protectrice des Animaux. That's SPA
Really?
in France. Yes, you understand.
Okay, that's funny.
And then we say, well, we have to make a small hotel. So we borrowed money, we make a small hotel. And then we realized we were not at all hotel owners or keepers.
Hospitality.
No, we are passionate about our wine, but it's a different job totally.
Yeah.
And then our younger daughter came, and with the young guy she liked a lot. He was with Arthur Andersen, which was becoming Accenture. He was not fine, but they were moving a lot. She had been putting Caudalie in the States, in Florida, just in Florida, and she, as we say in France, dogs don't make cats, and my daughter are very ambitious. And the younger one, she said, I want the majority of Caudalie in the States. And I have opened Florida for you now. I can go. And the other say, no, it's my baby.
Wow.
Both girls were right. So my husband, who is very strategic.
Yes.
He does not speak a lot, but he's good. And he had the idea, we don't know what to do with this hotel, which is like this. And he saw the guy and the girl, the younger ones, he says, I give you the keys. There is a declassified suite above the kitchen. Go here, try 1 year. If you like it, it's for you.
Wow,
and
nice guy.
And they stayed 4 years in the declassified suite to learn the job. And now they are excellent hotelier, and the banks lend all the money they need, and they have now 4 hotels. Beautiful, luxury, green
Bordeaux.
Bordeaux, the Loire Valley, where the oldest varietal of France is, the Romorantin, and then they have also Burgundy and Alsace. So the best place, the best place where the great French wines are.
Very fancy.
And they have the best hotel. They are remodeling too, because they just bought them. And
because of that, it was interesting because of the classification of Saint-Emilion, of the right bank. They've decided that they wanted to include hospitality, parking, all the different pieces that are not related to winemaking as part of the classification. Is that happening in the Grave as well? Or do you need to have a hotel?
We are only 14 owners behind Aubryon, which is our leader. And I think I was president for Superior Council of Œnotourism for 3 years, but I met with a minister, for health minister, and they are terrorists of alcohol, I think, of wine, which is bad.
No.
Because they put us in the same net as a strong alcohol, and they keep the beer out of these, and us, the poor winemaker, because we are so small, each of us compared. They think as soon as you drink a glass of wine, it's bad. It's the reverse of the French paradox that we had in the French ski team half a century ago,
I don't know why that's happened in America as well. As États-Unis, the Surgeon General said that alcohol is bad for you, and then it's the opposite of the French paradox, and that's just one of these things that just goes up and down, and you just decide it's society deciding what's wrong and what's right. When after all,
it's
like
silly,
I said,
it's silly.
Thousands of years.
With my husband, we drink wine every day, but with moderation, not huge wine, and we love it, and it's part of our life.
So the dream of coming to Napa, which is now a reality,
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Yes.
Do you like Napa?
My husband even prefer Napa to Smith Lafitte.
Really?
I am maybe the reverse because as he has put me president, I see all the money you have to put to get your dream come true. But the wine are great and the flavor of Napa is incredible. The smack of Napa earth you take in the nose when you taste this wine. That's unique, you know. And then we try to bring some elegance in the long finish, you know, harmonious.
The other night, I was telling Claude, we had a very big gala, and my daughter and my wife were part of this committee, and there's 550 people.
Wow!
And we had a table, and we had the Armenian priest at our table.
Yeah,
it was a fundraiser for the preschool.
Oh yes,
and I know he likes wine.
Yes,
and I knew the wine at the banquet. C'est pas bon. Right?
Oui.
So I brought 3 bottles with me. A bottle of Chateau Bailly, a bottle of Cathiard.
Smith Lafitte?
Yes. No, that's
Cathiard
Cathiard.
Ouais, great.
And Claire Melon.
Oui, Claire Melon.
Yeah, so we had a wonderful dinner at our table.
Good.
But the wines at the other table weren't so great.
Of course, you must have.
But I brought the Cathiard because I brought 2 Bordeaux and I wanted them to taste what Napa can do.
Yeah.
Because we're used to that profile.
And now there is this new trend with elegant wine, harmonious wine. And you know, when we know the wines from Napa Valley, the wines from Hazeley, even now the wine from Ireland and Screaming Eagle, they are taking the bend towards more finesse. And even Parker, when he tasted in the end, he says his desert island preferred wine would be Aubryon 89, which is not a huge wine.
Monsieur Parker.
Yes, even him.
That's interesting.
Had more taste for finesse with maturity.
You've spent a lot of time here creating a hospitality part of the destination.
Yes, because it's still more important than in France here. You can make half of the turnover with a boutique here.
But it's sort of new in Bordeaux to have visitors.
Yeah, for us, it's not new. It started in 1991.
But for Smith Lafitte. But in general, Bordeaux was not open to.
Yes, but now they are all open because Bordeaux is a little in crisis now, you know.
Yeah.
Difficult because maybe they went too fast, too high, and maybe the Bordeaux wine merchant, because we go through the Bordeaux, La Place de Bordeaux, the Bordeaux wine merchant. They borrowed huge amount of money with what we call helicopter money from COVID. You know, French was giving money to everybody.
Yeah.
And now they have to refund because they took loans in fine. That means you have, after 5 years, even if it's 1% of interest,
really,
you have to give the capital back. And now they are like this because they borrowed too much, and they bought many wines. They have difficulty for selling.
Oh, that's très triste.
Not ours. We are out of stock a lot, but they have to get rid of their own.
That's
all the bottles.
I did not know. That's interesting. So your goal here, and we're almost done. We're almost out of time. But I want to bring people back here to Cathiard.
Thank you. We need this because we have a few visitors, very nice visitors, because either they come from Smith Lafitte and they went to see what the Cathiard have made at Cathiard Vineyards in Rutherford, or they come from my charming niece who is having a big dinner tonight in Palm Beach. Because she's from Florida, so she knows many people. She used to sell villas for Park Hyatt or Ritz-Carlton in Florida. I stole her, and now she can go back and she knows a nice restaurant. You know, She does a great job, but she's also head of hospitality because it's very important.
That's a funny point you made, because I've interviewed a lot of people that were in the luxury goods business before they came to wine, in this quality of wine, like Louis XIII brand, Moet de Hennessy and
Yes.
Cathiard and Van Cleef, comme ça, but come to the wine trade for the hospitality, and that's what's so interesting to me. This has been really, really fun, and I hope we can do it again one day. But we're coming back, and we're going to bring a crowd, and we're going to take the
Good.
tour on the electric.
Good.
We're going to make Claude drive us around in the
Yes,
electric.
you have to come because really it has some. I think we are different from
Completely.
other wineries.
Absolutely.
Because every furniture pays a tribute to the founding brothers. We are all historic. With I cleaned the 1885 that you see on the facade of the old winery, all in stone.
Yes, it's beautiful.
It was built by the same architect who built the cupola. Now it's called Inglenook.
Yeah, Inglenook.
They went back to the original name,
It's the same architect?
Yes,
I didn't know that.
And it was also a pioneer from the Valais, Louis Martini, who built the wooden house. I say it's like a Harry Potter in wood, where we live now, And
That is really special.
Yes,
The
we
Louis
restored
Martini.
everything, and I think it's beautiful, and that helps. And
You've touched on, reintroducing Americans to a culture.
Yes.
And the history of Napa is very important. I mean,
Yes.
as in any part of the world.
and
And here you are.
we have this other room, which is also for tasting, and it's like a ranch room, because Bale Ranch, it was before the founding brothers. This was the middle of his huge ranch, going from Calistoga almost to Yonville.
Wow.
And we were
That's
in the
huge.
middle of it. And before, it was the Wapo tribe here, the Indian.
Wow.
So it's a very
Interesting.
long history here.
And they were making fire water from grapes. No, I'm kidding. Merci pour le
Merci
temps,
beaucoup.
cet après-midi.
And come and visit us at Smith.
Absolument.
We
Merci.
wait for you.
Au revoir.
Anytime. Eh oui.